All right, it's time for us to debunk some fake news stories that have been making the rounds in the past 1 week. Welcome to Fake News Friday. A warning from Burkina Faso's Traore to Tinubu. This one is arguably one of the most dramatic fake stories of this week. In an 11-minute video circulating across WhatsApp, Facebook, YouTube, and X, there was a claim that Burkina Faso's transitional leader, Ibrahim Traore, issued a direct final warning to President Bola Tinubu, accusing Nigeria of allowing U.S. troops stationed in the country to spy on the alliance of Sahel states. Now, that spells ass, doesn't it? Comprising of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. In the video, the speaker accuses the U.S. of monitoring the AES's defense systems, tracking troop movements, and intercepting communications, and warns if the government of Nigeria continues to aid foreigners and spying on the alliance of Sahel states, the Sahel will rise against you. It sounds explosive, but it never happened. There's no record of any such speech on Burkina Faso government platforms. None of the major media outlets reported it. And on top of that, the video contained a glaring geographical error. Now, it claimed U.S. troops were stationed near the Niger Republic border. But in fact, the U.S. personnel that are in Nigeria are stationed in Bauchi State, which does not even share a border with Niger at all. Now, this fits a often seen pattern where Ibrahim Traore has become the star of many, many fake videos across the internet. So that story is debunked. Samuel Eto'o of Cameroon elected CAF president, another false story. With African football in turmoil after a controversial AFCON final, this rumor found very fertile ground. An Instagram page alleged that Samuel Eto'o had been elected as CAF president following an emergency meeting after the resignation of Secretary General. The context that made this believable was that the AFCON final between Morocco and Senegal was engulfed in controversy after CAF's disciplinary committee impressed a ban and a fine on Eto'o, who was seen directly throwing gestures from the VIP box towards Moroccan Federation officials in anger, while CAF President Moshepe watched from nearby. The incident sharply divided opinions, and yes, there was a real drama involving Eto'o and CAF leadership, but the presidency, that was fake. In fact, Patrice Moshepe is still very much in that role, having made public statements as recently as the beginning of April. So that story is debunked. There was an AI-generated AFCON 2099 hosting claim for Sierra Leone. A viral image claimed Sierra Leone had been selected to host the 2099 Africa Cup of Nations. It spread widely, with users presenting it as an official announcement, despite the absurd date. Now, the year 2099 should have been the first clue that this was fake, but apparently many people fell for it. So that story is debunked. Another story says U.S. military has captured 8 Nigerians for sponsoring terrorism. A distorted Facebook user claimed that the United States military had captured 8 Nigerians sponsoring terrorism and banditry activities. A keyword search found no such news from credible organizations, but what actually happened was the U.S. government, through its Treasury Department, sanctioned, not arrested, 8 Nigerians over alleged links to terrorist organizations and cybercrime. A sanction and a military capture are two very different things. That story is debunked. The next story is about a Liberian politician called Sam Jackson. Now, Sam Jackson is not to be confused with the American actor Sam Jackson. Now, according to the story, the Liberian politician confessed to murdering his wife. No evidence was found supporting this story, but allegedly he had confessed to murdering his wife, and checks found nothing, keyboard searches, nothing. There was no credible news organization reporting it, and no evidence of any confession or case involving the Liberian politician Sam Jackson. That story is completely debunked. Now, the next one is, I think, probably the biggest one this week, and it involves the AFCON once again. The fake Hakimi quote has risen, or should I say, is resurrected. Now, it started with Nigeria's news agency falsely claiming that Morocco walked off the pitch in 1976 during the AFCON final against Guinea. Who out there knew that that was fake? That story has been making the rounds in the past month or so, and people were actually swallowing it hook, line, and sinker. Now, it was debunked by archival evidence. But in 48 hours, the same agency fabricated another story from Moroccan captain Ashraf Hakimi, claiming that he rejected the AFCON title in solidarity with Senegal. Multiple Nigerian outlets, I'm not going to mention their names, this is embarrassing, reported that. Some even embellished it with details like, "My mother told me to refuse the African Cup of Nations trophy." There was no evidence of any such statement anywhere on Hakimi's official social media accounts. A Nigerian senator even shared it, giving it credibility that it never deserved. Now, this is actually quite a fascinating story. Now, here is the full picture. In reality, Morocco did not walk off the pitch in 1976, but the story grew a life of its own. The claim exploded online because of what happened in the AFCON final. Now, the final, as you know, was held in Rabat on January 18th, 2026. Senegal beat Morocco 1-0 in a match marked by drama. Following an appeal filed by Morocco, CAF stripped Senegal of the title on March 17th, ruling that a walk-off by Senegalese players during the match constituted a forfeit. Now, that controversial decision is what made people go digging, and somehow somebody decided to make something up. On January 23rd, 2026, during a broadcast on France 24, a Cameroonian host by the name of Remy Ngono alleged that Morocco had walked off the pitch during their 1976 final match against Guinea, only to return and resume play. The clip quickly went viral, circulating on social media and being shared by numerous Senegalese sites and influencers. They would, wouldn't they? Now, here's where it fell apart. Fact checkers contacted eyewitnesses, a very key witness, a player, the Guinean footballer who had actually scored in the 1976 match. His name is Sharif Suleimani, and he is now 82 years old. He flatly denied the claim, saying it was not true. And he said he recalled that his goal didn't cause any incidents and that Morocco won fairly and by the book. There was absolutely nothing wrong with it, were his words. Now, in a match of such significance, any walk-off would have been a major incident, thoroughly documented. Yet, no such record exists in press archives, CAF, or FIFA records, or any subsequent historical accounts either. The limited archival footage available from the match shows no protest or collective walk-off. Claims that the Guinean Football Federation filed a petition to challenge the result were also false, and I think I've mentioned that here before. So what exactly happened in 1976? Guinea took the lead in the 33rd minute. Controversy then erupted after the hour mark when Zambian referee showed a Moroccan player named Abdallah Semat a red card for a contentious foul. Moroccan players left the sideline area briefly in protest and stayed out for about 15 minutes while mediations continued. But multiple historical sources and eyewitnesses say they never fully abandoned the pitch the way the Senegalese did in 2025. Play resumed, and 10-man Morocco, can you believe it, equalized in the 86th minute to win the title. All they needed was a draw. Is a disputed red card and a brief sideline protest, not a walk-off. That got swallowed up by the internet and turned into a shareable narrative because it fit the moment. It shows you just how misinformation often starts with a grain of truth before totally spinning out of control. So that story has been debunked. That's the last story I'm going to debunk on this edition. Thanks for watching. Let's do this again next time.